Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another review. And I had done a review of this film a long time ago. It was a much shorter review because that's when I had a 15 limit upload limit. And I'm like, you know what? It's October. I'm a big fan of this movie. Why not do a long review on this film? And that is, and it makes sense because this came out. The First Power on Blu-ray. Now, real quick, like on the Blu-ray, it does have a double-sided cover. This is the original theatrical poster, which, I'll be honest, it sucks. No wonder this film didn't do well in theaters. It says somewhere it cost $10 million and made $22 million, but that's Wikipedia, and Wikipedia isn't always right. But if this was the cover, if this is the theatrical cover sucks. I mean, Lou Diamond Phillips is tiny there, and like the VHS cover, I remember it had Lou Diamond Phillips. It was pretty much this. This is the DVD I have that I had before having this, and I'll keep this just because I'm a big fan of the movie for collection's sake. It was pretty much this. Up close was the VHS cover, and then the DVD cover is very nice, maybe simple to the point, but I think it's a lot better than the theatrical cover. There's one from Germany where it was called Pentagram, which that was a very cool cover. If you want, that was the back of the DVD. Sleek and Spectacular says LA Times, so at least that's one decent review. And then the cover, which I actually like this cover as well, The First Power. It's simple, but I think it works. The perfect killer is the one who cannot be stopped. Be warned. Let's see, was that the tagline? Satan has created the perfect killer, one who cannot be stopped. Be warned. Yeah. And just in case, that's the back cover. And this does have features. Yeah, that was pretty much the VHS cover right there. That picture of Lou Diamond. But yeah, The First Power, I love this film very much. It's a personal favorite of mine. It's from 1990. And real quickly on the features, you have interviews with Lou Diamond Phillips, which is about a 32-minute interview. Very nice interview. And Jeff Kober, which is a 17-minute interview. And they seem proud of the film. They both seem proud of the film, and they're both interesting interviews, especially Lou Diamond Phillips. Talks about some of the certain sequences, and that whole finale was a reshoot. He doesn't quite know what the original ending was, that maybe took place in a warehouse. The sequel bait ending was added because they were producers and such were so high on this film that there was, you know, good test screenings and such. They really liked what they were seeing. That the producers stuff wanted to set up for a sequel, which I'll get into that. Which of course that never happened. He talks a little bit about that, but he doesn't remember the specifics of the original ending. But I know, like Jack Craven, he showed me some pictures where it looked like they were. I don't know, I'll get into that. I'm jumping ahead. But really fun interview with Lou Diamond Phillips. It's too bad there was no commentary track, because Lou Diamond Phillips does some really good commentary tracks. He did one on Young Guns with two of the other fellow cast members, Casey Shimasko and Dermot Mulroney. And then he did a fun commentary on a film called Bats, which I'll review sometime with the director of that film. So I don't know why they didn't get the commentary for this, but this company, Kino Lorber, I don't know if their releases really have much commentaries on them at all. I haven't bought a lot from them, but looking through their stuff, I don't know if they actually do a lot of commentary, so that might be the case that the company just doesn't do much commentaries, or who knows why. Maybe they just didn't think of it. But at least they got an interview. It's a 30-minute interview, very nice, and I'm glad to have this, and I thought the picture quality looked great as well. And I like even this has a picture on it. So at least there's some effort. It's a double-sided cover, whichever one you prefer, picture on there, 30-minute interview with Lou Diamond Phillips. It's about a 17-minute interview with Jeff Kober. The trailer, which I love the trailer. Really love the trailer to this film. I'm going to put the trailer down below, if I remember, and a link, because I really enjoy the trailer. I like the build-up of the trailer. Really enough, there's another trailer that's pretty much the same, but it's a different narrator, and they use music from The Serpent and the Rainbow. And I know that trailer's on YouTube somewhere too, but the one I remember is the one they have on this, which I'll put down below. But if I can remember, I'll put both of them down below. I know it's 5 minutes and I haven't talked about the movie itself. But The First Power, it's written and directed by this guy named Robert Resnikoff. Now, the only thing that he has done, he did a little short film. I don't know why I did this, as if you don't know what short is. He did a little short film called The Jogger with, I think, Terry O'Quinn. So just a little short film. He helped write Collision Course with Jay Leno and Pat Morita. And this is the only film he directed, feature film. And he never did anything again. Not writing, not directing. Robert Resnikoff never directed again, never wrote anything again. I think Jeff Kober said something about, by the time of this interview, that a month ago he had heard that Resnikoff was in Prague and writing some religious stuff. I mean, I don't know what happened. It would have been really interesting to hear his thoughts. I mean, I don't even know what the hell Robert Resnikoff looks like. I mean, it'd be nice to hear his thoughts, but if he's somewhere in Prague and such, they probably couldn't find him. He disappeared. But I guess at least he's alive. But that's fucking bullshit. That pisses me off. There's so many shitty directors. Uwe Boll and fucking Olivier Megatron. Fucking Megatron, he's a fucking Decepticon because all his movies deceive you. Transporter 3, you think it'll be good because Transporter 1 and 2 you like? Transporter 3 sucked. Hey, I like the actress in Colombiana, but that fucking film deceives you because it sucked. Taken 2, hey, I like the first Taken, but Taken 2 deceives you because it sucked. So this is fucking Megatron. Megaton of bullshit because he sells you bullshit. And yes, I saw a Taken 3 trailer. I like the trailer, but I don't buy the director because he's a fucking Decepticon. He'll deceive you. Oh, but that fucking director gets jobs. Uwe Boll gets jobs. The motherfucker who directed Die Hard 5 and Max Payne in my ass still gets jobs. But this guy who directed a damn good movie, and I will say an underrated film, because no one really talks about this film. Someone will go, well, it got a Blu-ray. Yeah, so did Final Exam. One of the worst fucking slasher films from the 80s. With features and a commentary. And that fucking film blew ass. Fuck Final Exam up its stupid fucking ass. That got a Blu-ray features. So just because that Blu-ray features don't mean shit. Well, it's something good if it's a movie you like. But this is still an underrated film. Very underrated film. And I'll get into that. But Robert Resnikoff deserved to have more films. The fact this is the only feature film he got to direct, and he wrote and directed, it's bullshit. He showed a lot of talent in this film. It's his first feature film directing job. He showed a lot of talent. It's bullshit. They never got to direct again. I don't know what the fuck happened, but it fucking pisses me off. A lot of shitty directors get work, but this guy couldn't get a fucking job. That's fucking bullshit. Get this guy to direct fucking Silent Hill with a guy. You can even cast Lou Diamond Phillips again for all I care. You can do Silent Hill. Or some other shit. Get him to do some stuff. God damn it. And of course, that's Jeff Kober in that very creepy looking mask. And this film came out in 1990, which 1990 is a great year. And I forgot this came out in 1990. Because I think I did a tribute to 1990 on my other channel. And I cannot believe I forgot about this. I think I forgot in my... No, I think I did put shit. I can't remember. Anyway, it's not about that. My memory's shit. But anyway, Robert Resnikoff, the fact that this is the only film I got to direct pisses me off. I know I've been on that for like 5 minutes now, but I said this is a long, in-depth review. If you want to check out a straight-to-the-point review, I'll put that down below as well. There's a straight-to-the-point review. I'll even label it that way. This is a long, in-depth review. So fuck it. But Lou Diamond Phillips stars as this cop named Logan. This is Russell. Yeah, Russell Logan. Looking for this killer called the Pentagram Killer, who likes to have women like this, or really anyone, and draw pentagrams on them, kill them, Satan worshiper. Gets a call from the psychic, played by Tracy Griffith, and he's able to catch him. They gas him, put him in the gas chamber. He comes back, resurrection, starts possessing people, fucking with Lou Diamond Phillips' character. Lou Diamond Phillips and the psychic have to join together and try to stop. But how do you stop a killer that can't be killed? Now, I know by the time 1990 came about, you had a couple films like this. You had Shocker. You had the horror show. But to me, this film was different enough from those films because it's a word that gets overused a lot, but I think it does fit with this. It tried to be a bit more gritty, down to earth. I'm going to steal a quote from someone because this says it best, and it's from John Fallon from Arrow in the Head, who he likes the film as well. The film's gritty tone and the contrast it had with the horror elements jacked the proceedings to a higher plane. Since the flick felt so much like a down and dirty cop thriller, the slew of supernatural occurrences kicked even more ass due to them being set within such a grounded setting. And I agree with that. That's a reason why I enjoy that film. I enjoy films where you have a cop in a supernatural environment. For example, recently I saw a film called Deliver Us from Evil, which you'll hear more about that later. I really enjoy that film. That film came out this year. That had a cop played by Eric Bana dealing with supernatural forces. You had End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I really enjoy that film. Now, I think this was different enough from Shocker and the horror show because of that aspect. It might not seem much to people, but to me it is a bit different. And I love Shocker and the horror show, but I really enjoy The First Power. I really enjoy it. I think it's different enough. And if you want to talk about other movies, there's a Denzel Washington movie called Fallen. That's a ripoff of this film. You watch Fallen, it completely ripped this off. To try to have a cop in that, down and dirty cop thriller aspect. You had a killer who got executed, who comes back and possesses people. And you even have this girl that tries to help the cop. Fallen is a complete fucking ripoff of this movie, and Fallen is a piece of shit. Not just because of his shitty ending, it's just a piece of shit. I'm like, this is a much better movie. Fallen ripped this movie off. And I'm sure they'll say they never heard of this. And I know in all seriousness, more than likely they might not have heard this because this film didn't do much, unfortunately. But it's kind of weird. I see this movie and I'm like, wow. A few years later, you had a movie called Fallen, which is very similar to this fucking movie. And this is a much better film and a much lower budget. But what I love about this film, I'm a big fan of Lou Diamond Phillips, LDP for life, because I enjoy him in Young Guns. I enjoy him in, I enjoy him in this film. I don't want to talk about Bats and Route 666. I know I haven't seen La Bamba, shame on me. Renegades, I haven't seen in forever. Disorganized Crime, I remember being a time waster. I know nowadays he doesn't get much work. He was on some TV show, I think called Lawnmower. He gets like sci-fi channel stuff like Metal Tornado. It's a shame that he doesn't get much work. Because I like him. I think he has a good presence to him. I know some people say he was a bit too young to have this role, but I thought he did the role justice, and I thought he did a good job with the role. And to be honest, it's my personal favorite Lou Diamond Phillips film. It's my personal favorite Lou Diamond Phillips role. I really enjoy Young Guns, but this is my favorite of his. It was nice to see him in this film. And I like the fact he didn't talk down about the film, and he had good stuff to say about this film. That was very nice to hear. I understand that if people don't be honest, I understand it's their opinion. But it is nice when you're a fan, and hey, they seem to not mind the film either. That's nice. It's nice to hear. It's really cool. That's why I give a thumbs up to the features. Not just because, you don't have to lie, I'm not saying that, but it was nice to know that. And plus, the interviews themselves were really good. But Now, not only do I like Lou Diamond Phillips, I thought Tracy Griffith did a good job as the psychic, and usually in sidekicks I get annoyed by them, those kind of characters thrown in, but I thought she did a good job, and I didn't realize she's actually a sister of Melanie Griffith. I think nowadays she's running a restaurant or a sushi restaurant or something like that, because they mentioned a little bit there on the Lou Diamond Phillips interview, but I didn't know she was a Melanie Griffith's sister. But I thought she did a good job. This guy here, Jeff Kober, who like I said is interviewed, I thought he was an excellent bad guy. And even Lou Diamond Phillips says, you know, that he's a really good bad guy. And it's like, it was great to play off that because, you know, as me being a good guy, I need someone to play off with who's better than me. And that's what Lou Diamond Phillips said himself. And Jeff Kober had nice words to say about LDP, which is nice. But I thought these two bounced off each other very well. Lou Diamond Phillips was a solid hero, and Jeff Kober was a great bad guy. He was creepy. He was fun to watch. You tell he really enjoyed the role. This mask that he wore a couple times was really a creepy looking mask, still is. And he had some fun lines of dialogue. You'll see you around, buddy boy. Or when Tracy Griffith asks, you can't go on killing forever, and he goes, you want to bet? He pulled it off so well. Jeff Kober is such an excellent villain in this. And Lou Diamond Phillips played off very well. That's a big reason. I also thought, I didn't like John Filmer Arrow in the headset. I like the fact as a gritty is a word that gets used around a bit too much. This is a film I can see in the gritty area. It's like, again, it's like if you were seeing a cop thriller, but then these supernatural things happen, and I liked seeing those two worlds together. And this film also has some pretty impressive set pieces and stunt sequences, which I'll get into. And I thought it had a pretty decent atmosphere and mood. The score by Stuart Copeland, who is of The Police, and he did other scores, like he did See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. He's done other scores. And like I said, I think he was a drummer. Might be wrong. He was with the Police. Stuart Copeland knocked out of the park on the score. I love the score. I think the score is excellent. Great score. And written directed by Robert Resnikoff. This is the first film he directed. I thought he knocked out of the park. Now, are there little nitpicks in the film? Yes. And the biggest nitpick I have is the last shot, which I'll get into. But get more in depth on the film. Even more in depth. I really love the opening credits. I remember, I don't know how I know I first saw this on VHS. I didn't own the VHS, but I think I rented it. Was it on VHS? I want to say I rented it. Because I don't remember having this on VHS. Did I have this? I don't think I had this on VHS. I think I rented it. I can't remember when I first saw it. I'm usually bad with my memory on that. But I remember even then, even from the opening credits, I'm like, wow, I really like the way these opening credits are done, where a line gets drawn, and then another line gets drawn, and you have this great music by Stuart Copeland, and reveals, you know, the pentagram, and you have the first power. And like I said, it's Lou Diamond Phillips is looking for this Pentagram Killer. He gets a tip from this psychic. His partner is played by Mykelti Williamson, who will, of course, be Bubba Gump and Forrest Gump. And, of course, yeah, that's one nitpick you could say. You can see what's coming. Oh, my God, he's the black partner. He's going to die. Yeah, I get that. But it didn't bother me because I thought the actors performed it well. Mykelti Williamson was fine. And a little bit of their banter where he goes, fuck you, and Lou Diamond says, no, fuck you, sir. That's fuck you, sir. And he doesn't believe in the religion mumbo jumbo, but Mykelti Williamson, you can tell he does a little bit. And Jeff Kober grabs this female cop because they have this staked out because Lou Diamond Phillips is following the tip of this. He doesn't know that she's a psychic, but he just heard this tip from this informant that's called him before. And he finds out later that she's a psychic, and that's how she knows this stuff. But as it goes on, the female cop gets taken and gets put in a situation like this. And that's where you see Jeff Kober in that really creepy looking mask. And working with the score and a creepy mask and a good actor like Jeff Kober really works well. And even the dialogue, you don't need to be afraid. I'm just going to go through a small door, very small door right here. And talks about that's why he says the prayers backwards, because he's got to do something, like something about it being backwards, and so he says the prayer backwards. And Lou Diamond Phillips and his partner get there. It's in this park. Mykelti Williamson gets in there, and then Lou Diamond Phillips. There's this little foot chase, and some nice bit of cat and mouse. I thought another thing that works for this film, I think it has a quick pace. I think it has a very good pace. It didn't feel boring at all. I thought it clipped on a good pace. It had some good pacing in it. And it ends with Lou Diamond Phillips grabbing the guy and shoving him right through the window. And for his first film, this guy knows how to shoot action. He knows how to shoot action. The editing is well done. Doesn't say on the back here who the editor is, but the editing is well done. You know, jumps through the window, pushes Jeff Kober out the window, and Jeff Kober actually stabs him a couple times in the stomach. And Lou Diamond Phillips feels it, but grabs it, punches him, just slams the back of his head against the ground, and is able to knock him out before he, of course, passes out from his wounds. And it's a nice little scene later on. You see the wounds on his stomach. And of course, Tracy Griffith said, okay, I'll give you the location, but you gotta promise me, don't kill him, don't give him the death penalty. And of course, he does get the death penalty, the gas chamber. I like this change the two of these guys have. Hey, is the stomach okay? See you around, buddy boy. I doubt it. I thought these two worked very well together. Of course, I know Tracy Griffith, her character is saying that because he's going to die, resurrect. But here's the thing. The guy's going to die sometime. Whether the gas chamber or old age, he's going to die sometime. If he doesn't die now, he'll die 50 years from now. Only you and LDP won't be around to stop him. So either way, he's going to die, and won't, whether it's old age or being executed, won't that do the same thing? So what, if he died old age, it wouldn't happen? I mean, come on. I mean, he'd still die, except you guys wouldn't be around, or you'd be too old to do anything. You'd be in a nursing home, and then he grabs you and unhooks you from your, tubes or something. Whatever the hell. So, I mean, had it happened, it was going to happen sooner or later, so that's why, But anyway. But I like the way some of these scenes are handled. For example, you see the gas chamber. And of course, you should already know by now this is fucking spoilers when I'm talking about the entire film. But I like the fact that Lou Diamond Phillips is seeing the execution, this gas chamber. And oh my god, this Jeff Kober. He's breaking out. He's got a knife. And Lou Diamond Phillips is shooting. It's not working. And then, okay, you realize it's a dream. I like the way that was handled because I think, when you first see that, I don't think you realize it's a dream. Like, what the fuck? Maybe by the end you realize, oh, something's up, but at first you're not realizing it's a dream. And I like those scenes. He wakes up, he goes to his room, and the whole room is covered with blood and bloody pentagrams, and then he turns around and it's not there anymore. So his head's being fucked with. And pretty much his fellow cops start ending up dead. For example, the same female cop that was taken, they saved, she gets found later dead at the same place, and there's a pentagram on there. Later on, which I like the way this is revealed, Lou Diamond Phillips is driving, and then we see from the back of the car, like the back of the driver's seat, and he's like going under this little pass, and then the camera tilts up, and you see in the distance this figure like this, all the way top, like right under a bridge or something. So think of like the ground up to here, and he's like, right here. And somehow he got all the way up there, and he's pretty much crucified. And it's another fellow cop. And I don't know, just a nice image. And even someone goes, well, how the hell did he get him up there, the killer? And I thought it was a nice little image, and it's like, it's a good question. And Tracy Griffith is having some visions. Like, for example, she's in this garage, and she sees this bleeding pipe, and sees Jeff Kober, and then sees Jeff Kober around behind her. Some guy gets her out of the way, and she's about ready to be hit by a car. So she's being fucked with as well. The cops get a suspect who is pretty much just like, pretty much like that. And Lou does like a little business with the lighter. Sees nothing. Gets up, and then hears, see you around, buddy boy. And he turns around and is like, what do you say? And the other cop's like, I didn't say anything. So again, I like these sort of mind games that the killer's playing, because he can. And he's psycho. And he wants revenge. But of course he toys with them. And I like the way they were doing in this film. Pretty much one thing leads to another. Like, they go to Tracy Griffith's place, because by this time she's shown herself and told Lou Diamond Phillips who she is and what's going on. Of course, he doesn't believe her. I mean, would you believe someone who comes up and goes, hey, that guy you killed, he's killing people. He's a spirit, a force now. No, you wouldn't. Let's be honest. And they go to her place. And again, being fucked with. Here's his answering machine. Call of Jeff Kober's character. But then Mykelti Williamson's like, no, I don't hear anything. There's 3 messages, and then finds out there's only 2 messages there. That leads him to this place where, of course, Mykelti Williamson, like I said before, you see it coming, he gets killed. But I thought it was well handled. You have this horse carriage that stomp him, and you see like stomping the body, and of course Mykelti gets killed, and that goes into a little car chase scene. I thought Lou Diamond Phillips has some nice acting moments. I like before when he is at Tracy Griffith's house, and he grabs her, he's like, don't fuck with me, there are people dying here, and there's a couple other moments which I'll get to. And that chase leads to that very, ever since I first saw this, there are certain scenes that I remember. One of them is this 10-story drop, which from what I understand they did a decelerating rig. And Lou Diamond Phillips had an interesting story where apparently the guy who did the stunt, his woman was all the way down below with a blanket. And Lou Diamond Phillips asked, well, who is that and why is she there? And the guy told him, well, she's there because if he doesn't make it, he wants her to cover him up if he doesn't make it. Lou Diamond Phillips says that still chills him to this day, that if this guy drops, his girlfriend or woman's going to cover him up with the blanket that she's fucking holding. So I mean, that's what I mean. You did some interesting stuff in the interview, so I'll get to some others as well. But like moments like the 10-story drop. And I gotta admit this, one little nitpick I gotta say is that if you look closely, you can notice the ropes, because it's decelerating rig, you can notice the ropes. I kind of wish somehow, some way, they could like erase that digitally, because I think even the older ones, but especially, you can notice the little rope thing, like the wire, I should say. So it kind of, that scene kind of lost me a little bit nowadays, because I can kind of see it. But there's other shots that look better. But I do like the idea behind it. And it's one of those things, okay, if I can try to get my mind out of that. I mean, I like the idea, I like the acting, and I like the actors and the music and such. But, it's one of those things, it'd be nice if it was digitally removed or such, but that's just me. But I had to be honest, because if I don't mention it, someone's going to mention it. But I still like the idea. I still like the scene, though. It's still an image of that 10-story drop that I still remember. I mean, other scenes, of course, the ceiling fan, where later on, where the killer just rips the fucking ceiling fan, rips up like a chainsaw, and Lou Diamond Phillips is shooting it, and it's like blocking the bullets. And later on, when the terrorists are going down these sewer water, or the water pipe tunnels, and water's rushing around them. You have the bad lady who comes up, floats on the outside of the window, and crashes through the Lou Diamond Phillips. You have like the big ass car stunt, like crazy ass car stunt, which I'll get to all that stuff. But when you watch a film, and from the first time, so many years later, you still remember those moments. There's something to that, and I think that's why I don't even know if this has a cult following, but it should. I mean, I do think it's a very well done movie. I do. Is it perfect? No, but I think it's well done. It's better than a lot of movies that get the fucking pass today. I'll tell you that much. And I still feel it's an underrated movie. But I mean, there's the sequence where Lou Diamond Phillips goes to a church and talks to a father. And, you know, the father says, you know, may I ask a question? Yes. As Jeff Kober, how's his stomach? What does he say? I want to get it right. I want to make sure I get it right. You know, how's his stomach, buddy boy? And LDP's like, oh shit, and a knife goes right by his neck. And he comes up and it's like, I like the reveals that this does, like the cop being crucified, and you see like, think of this, the camera, and the camera's going, and then boom, you see it revealed as the car's going. Or here, it's like Lou Diamond Phillips, and say he's holding here, and then the camera moves, so then right over here is Jeff Kober in the back, on top of one of the pews, or on top of one of the benches, and like does a little crucifix thing, and does this, and then does this like big leap over him. Oh, just the way this stuff is handled and directed makes it memorable to me. I remember these scenes ever since I first saw them from back in the day, and rewatching today. I think they're well-handled little set pieces. And that's where he chases the guy in a foot chase, goes up to his apartment building. And again, watching this for the first time, you'd be surprised as shit, because there's Tracy Griffith warning him. He turns, Jeff Kober comes out, boom, axe in the head of LDP. Like, what the fuck? And then Tracy Griffith drops it. You go, oh, that's a vision she had. And then she runs off. She pretty much does the same thing, so I don't know what was different, because she was there to warn him in the vision. She warns him here, so I don't know what was really different. But at this time, he misses. And Lou Diamond Phillips barely gets out of the way. I will say one thing about Lou Diamond Phillips' character gets his ass kicked a lot in this movie. And usually I'd have a problem with that. But what's nice about this character is that he gets his ass kicked, but he always gets back up for more. He's always pushing ahead. He's always still, I mean, this is supposed to be a killer that is supernatural, so it makes sense. And at least the guy's ready to get back up and keep fighting. And, you know, that's something that I like about the character. And that's where you get the great ceiling fan bit. I know people are like, well, that's unrealistic. Why the fuck what the fuck you gonna do with the ceiling fan? I don't know, shove it up your ass and let it twirl? Just fuck! It was a fun, great visual bit. And great images, great shot, great sequence. Lou Diamond Phillips shooting, his fucking blades are blocking it. He's a supernatural motherfucker, that's why. And I like that they actually barricade this door with the guy sleeping in his bed still. They jump out, the killer jumps through, and they get in this car, and the killer, Jeff Kober, comes all the way down, smashes right through the windshield. You get another really well done stunt sequence, where the guy's, Jeff Kober, or probably the stunt guy, is on the side of the car, and there's stuff going through this alleyway, and then gets on top of the car. So, again, really well done stunt sequence in this. For a film that not many people talk about, very well done stunt sequence. And uh, even Lou Diamond Phillips gets a nice kick in the face to Jeff Kober's character. Um, and then you get some scenes of Lou Diamond Phillips and Tracy Griffith getting to know each other a little bit. She actually decided, since LDP's always asked you to get a drink, she's like, okay, let's get a drink. And this bartender, I knew he looked familiar. I knew he looked familiar. I'm like, holy shit, the bartender is Bill Moseley. Yes, Chop Top is in this movie for a cameo. Bill Moseley is a bartender. And I'm like, I knew that guy looked familiar. Because I'm like, that bartender looks familiar when Tracy Griffith is doing these shots. It's fucking Bill Moseley. Yes, Bill Moseley. And I made sure, because I looked through the credits, that there's Bill Moseley, bartender. It's weird seeing, like, there's Bill Moseley as one of the guys with, I don't even know if he had a name, and a white suit in the Blob from 1988. That I think he got the bazooka, Kevin Dillon got the bazooka from. If you can't hear me, maybe you didn't hear this. It's like, oh, there's Bill Moseley. It's just weird. You see Bill Moseley, you know, oh, he was chopped up at Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and he's in these tiny roles, like in The Blob from 1988 or this film. It's like, wow, I never knew that was him. And, you know, they get to know each other a little bit. They go to Jeff Kober, his character's place, and there's this old woman there. And pretty much you get a little bit of how you find out that Jeff Kober's father was his grandfather, because the grandfather molested his own daughter. And so, again, Jeff Kober, his character's father, was his grandfather. And I thought the old woman did a decent job acting. I thought Lou Diamond Phillips did a pretty good job acting when he realizes what Tracy Griffith is saying and confronts the old woman. I thought a nice little bit of acting there in that scene. And that's what I mean. This film, to be always kept at a good pace. There's always something happening. You know, like they get a call and Lou Diamond Phillips gets a shotgun, but then boom, he goes right through this floor. And that's where Tracy Griffith has that same conversation. You know, you can't keep killing forever. You want to bet? That's a couple nice lines of dialogue. You know, see you around, buddy boy. This don't sound stupid, but I always, this don't sound out of the blue, but if you know my channel, you know, I always thought if I ever did a Ninja Turtle film, I would have Raphael and the evil character be Slash. I was always thinking I would have their relationship be like these two. So Slash would always go, see you around, Raffy boy. So I just really like Jeff Kober's performance, and I like these two. They were good, like, mortal enemies. And people are like, oh, you're putting too much into it. Well, good. As a big fan of the movie, someone should. Good should. It rhymed. I'm a poet and didn't know it. Oh, as Andrew Dice Clay would say. But who knows how many people are actually still watching after 38 minutes of this. But again, I forget where exactly the location that was at. But like, she gets fouled, and Lou Diamond Phillips gets there. Gray gets beat up a little bit and is hanging on the rails, and Tracy Griffith smacks him, and then good stunt work, guy falling, and nice work of the camera, and they find the guy impaled, and again, this guy possesses bodies, so like one of the bodies is this asshole cop that was giving Lou Diamond Phillips shit. It's like, fine, as cool as that guy's dead, he's a dick. But I mean, this is definitely a film that keeps going, and they have a little bit of talking, and then here's this bag lady that's floating out the window, and Tracy Griffith's like, oh my god. And he looks, and he's like, there's no one there, and boom, this floating bag lady crashes through, grabs LDP. I should mention, this is the first of 2 times that Lou Diamond Phillips' character gets kicked in the balls. And Lou Diamond Phillips has a fun bit of that, where apparently the same guy, some stuntman named Jack, He was in both scenes as the bad lady and later on as the nun. And he actually hit Lou Diamond Phillips in the balls. And LDP's like, you're hitting the boys there. And now we need to have a conversation. Like, there was some fun stuff there. And then that leads to them escaping, and then that leads to that bad lady's in the back of the car. Yeah, that insane car jump. Now, that car was not really meant to do that. It's a magnificent stunt. Fucking car, just so many, what you call revolutions, so many hell of a fucking flip. Apparently the stuntman who did that, there was an actual guy in the car, which I know it sounds stupid, but I thought there was no one actually in that car. Because I'm like, whoever is in that car died. It's such an insane... for some reason, I thought it was like, I don't know, something that propelled it by itself and you just had dummies. No, there was someone driving it. And apparently it was the stuntman's, like, anniversary, like 50th, 100th car stunt or something like that. So he wanted to be very special. So he drove really, really fast. And even other people were like, wait a minute, he's driving too fast. What the fuck? He's driving too fast. And that's why you did such a crazy stunt, because the guy, it was like his special day. He drove too fast on purpose because he wanted to be magnificent. And the fucking guy got into a coma. And I think they both mentioned it. I think Jeff Kober, he said that... Lou Diamond Phillips mentioned that he was in a coma. And Jeff Kober says that he was in a hospital for like 6 weeks. So between the two, I'm gathering he was in their hospital for 6 weeks in a coma. Or maybe not the whole 6 weeks, but the fucking guy got in a coma and was in the hospital for at least 6 weeks. Okay. Hell of a stunt, but, worry about your safety first. But I will admit, it's a fucking hell of a fucking car stunt. I'm glad the guy survived, though. And then when he wakes up, the girl's gone. Jeff Kober took her. And that's where you actually get this scene here. He sees this nun that we've seen a few times before. She was in the first shot of the film, actual shot of the film. Then you see her like once or two more times. And he's like, I don't care if you want to hide here. I need your help. And she actually has this cross that becomes a knife. And I will admit, that kind of reminded me of The Omen. Especially the scene where, he's about to stab someone. You have someone with a gun, a cop with a gun. Reminds you of The Omen. I don't give a shit. I like this film a lot more than The Omen. The Omen, that was there. I did reviews of all the Omen films. I like this film more than any of the Omen films. Now, I wasn't the biggest Omen fan. I mean, I didn't hate all of them. The first two I could, watch. But I think this is miles better. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree. It's still not changing my mind. I like this film a lot more. And it's a fuckload better than Fallen with Denzel. I love Denzel, but that's one of his worst movies was Fallen. It's a complete fucking rip-off of this. Only done in a shitty way. This was done much better. Like I say, this was done much better. And I love the set pieces where apparently Jeff Kober's character worked at like water and power or something. So it's like these tunnels. Oh yeah, one other bit of business. Apparently the original title for this was Transit. And it was actually going to take place in New York. And deal with New York subways. That would have been interesting. I can imagine some of these scenes being in New York subways. That would have been interesting. I still like the film, but it taking place in New York and dealing with the subways, that would have been interesting. Transit would have been a boring title. I mean, I like the first Power better than Transit. Transit sounds like a fucking I know there's been an action movie called Transit. I know there has. I haven't seen it, but I know there has. But it just sounds very generic. First Power has a ring to it for me. As for it take place in New York, that would have been interesting. Oh yeah, another piece of business. Jeff Kober's character, one of the guys who went up for it was the lead singer of NXS. The lead singer of NXS. Lou Diamond Phillips tells a little fun story about that. That the lead singer of NXS tried out for Jeff Kober's character. That's interesting. The lead singer of NXS. But I had to throw that in there. But it's really the nun and Lou Diamond Phillips going through these tunnels, finding the girl, being attacked, shoots the bad lady, including a really nice gunshot wound, very nice wound to the head, very nicely done. The nun gets stabbed. They try to get out of there. Really nice scene where Lou Diamond Phillips coming back for the nun. Are you okay, sister? And let's get out of there. And of course, she's now been possessed. Oh, that's very nice of you, Russ. Pulls him right down. Getting a big fight. And apparently, the finale of this was a reshoot. Not just that one scene for the sequel bait ending. Apparently, the entire finale was a reshoot. That they took like 22 hours to film. And Lou Diamond, like, neither of them really remember what the original ending was. Although I remember pictures that Jack Craven had. He actually uploaded the musical score Stuart Copeland had. 2 pieces of it at least. And he had some pictures. And it was like Lou Diamond Phillips and the girl out, Tracy Griffith outside. It was like the nun being put into a ambulance or something. And apparently the original ending did not have a sequel bait ending. And I think it took place like in a warehouse. And they said they wanted to refilm the ending because they wanted a bigger ending. So I'm guessing everything in the tunnels was part of the reshoot. Because they say it took place in a warehouse. And Lou Diamond Phillips is talking a little bit about that scene where they go through the water tunnel slide. Apparently that was part of the reshoot, and fighting Jeff Kober and flipping him over into the pit and the explosion, him being burned. That was all part of the reshoot that they all did in one day, 22 hours. And I'm like, again, I don't know how much of it. It would have been nice if the footage was still alive to see that ending. But I wouldn't be surprised if that footage got lost in time. But it would have been nice to see that alternate ending. Or if someone knew 100% what it was. I like the fact that Lou actually fucks with, because as the nun, she has the gun. And Lou fucks with that character by saying, oh yeah, Channing? What was the character's name? Pentagram Killer, but I think it was Channing. Oh yeah, Channing, yeah, I know about you. I know about how your dad's, pretty much how his dad's really his granddad. And yeah, I bet the first person you killed was your grandfather, right? And that's fucking with him, pissing him off. And then that shows his true form of Jeff Kober, and they have a fight. And that's where Tracy Griffith turns on this thing where the water fills up and they slide down. Lou Diamond Phillips is punching him. Lou Diamond Phillips is getting beaten up. That's the scene before that where he just kicked in the balls for the second time, this time by the nun instead of the bad lady. I did very exciting. The whole scene in the sliding down the tunnels, very nice, well shot set piece. Lou Diamond Phillips taking that lighter and burning Jeff Kober and flipping him over, dropping the lighter, big explosion. So that's what they meant by how they wanted to redo this ending, because they wanted a more explosive finale. They wanted a bigger bang, so to speak. And I like the way the finale is. And Jeff Kober comes out, he's got like burnt, some decent makeup. And Lou Diamond Phillips has the knife. Cops get there. Again, it's like The Omen. He comes down, gets shot. You see this burst of light, and then there's Jeff Kober's body, and the cops see it. My only really big problem, I mean, I've said a couple nitpicks. I mean, you just see some stuff coming, like the black guy, partner being killed, and one or two scenes don't hold up as well as they could, like the 10-story jump. If you digitally erase some of those wires that you could kind of see, that would have helped a bit. But my only real nitpick is the last shot, where Lou Diamond Phillips is in the hospital, and she's watching him, and he comes up and attacks her. Then she wakes up, looks at him, and you hear the words, "See you around, buddy boy." And Lou Diamond Phillips in an interview was talking about how they had defeated the evil this time, but that was put in there so that maybe one day it'll come back. Which I know it wasn't Lou Diamond Phillips. I mean, whoever thought of it, probably the producers. This was produced by Ted Field, Robert W. Court, and Melinda Jason. Maybe it was one of them, or David Madden, who was a producer. I don't know who it was, but you didn't need a sequel bait ending. This is a film that didn't need it. You didn't need a sequel. It should have finished it concrete, which is what happens. If it doesn't do well, you don't need a sequel, and then you just left with a sequel bait ending. That's fucking stupid. So that's really the only thing that made me mad is the sequel bait ending. Now, granted, I don't think that Lou Diamond Phillips is possessed. Here's why. Just because Tracy Griffith envisioned it, you could count it off as, bullshit reasoning in the head of, oh, well, she had a nightmare. Or that, she's still being freaked out by what happened. Or you go, okay, something's going to happen later. But, for example, I said there was the vision where you had the blood dripping. And she's in a garage, and there's Jeff Kober here and here. That scene never happened. Even the scene with the axe in the face. What happened? Lou Diamond Phillips turned, and the axe missed him. But at the end of the day, though, you didn't. That's the scene that you could completely cut. You didn't need it. Didn't need to be a sequel bait ending. In my opinion, you just did not need a sequel bait ending. That's all. But again, that's really my only big problem is you didn't need the sequel bait ending. I know this is a long review, but fuck it. This film deserves it. I'm glad to have a long-ass review for this film because I love this film to death. I really enjoy this film, The First Power. I think it has a good pace to it. I think Lou Diamond Phillips does a great job. I think Tracy Griffith is fine. Mykelti Williamson is fine. Jeff Kober was an excellent villain. I love the score by Stuart Copeland. I like when cops deal with supernatural occurrences, like End of Days. This film I watched, Deliver Us from Evil. This film, thought it was a good example of that. My personal favorite Lou Diamond Phillips flick. It's always an easy watch when I watch this. It's always an easy sit through. Some very well done set pieces and stunt sequences, memorable sequences. The ceiling fan bit, the 10-story. Again, I like if you erase some of the wires, you could do that nowadays, but it was still a good stunt and good idea. The car stunt sequence. When he's falling down, smashes right into the windshield of the car. The bag lady coming through the window as she's floating. The going down the sewer water tunnels. Some really good set pieces. Well done stunt sequences. Great score. 2 solid leads. Tracy Griffith is fine as well. Good pace. And it has action, but also has its horror aspects. And I was pausing because I'm like, I mentioned all that stuff. In a way, I was going to ask, well, what more do you need? I mean, you have 2 likable leads. You have a good hero, good villain. You have great score. You have a pretty decent atmosphere with this sort of gritty, down-to-earth, sort of down-to-earth tone, down-to-earth atmosphere. Like this guy said, it felt so much like a down and dirty cop thriller. And when this stuff happens, it makes it that much cooler because it's in a grounded setting. And that's John Fallon, arrow in the head, who said that. I agree with that. That's why I took that quote. I couldn't have said it better myself. And that has a creepy looking mask too. I mean, I've talked for like 55 minutes on this. I don't know what more I can do. I wanted to do as epic of a review as possible for the first Power because it deserves it. I'm a huge fan of the film. And I know there are people who aren't fans of the film, and that's fine. Again, when I do reviews, I do it for me, in a way, because you're not going to please everybody. And I'm not here to tell people what to do or what to like. I'm not here to overhype something. I'm here to say, if I love the film, I'm not going to... I love the film, but I'm not going to talk about it that much. No, if I love the film, I'll say, hey, I really love it. Here's why. You don't agree? Fine. But if you're a big fan of the film, maybe you enjoy another guy who's a big fan of the film talking about it. But either way, one more can I say about the first Power that hasn't been said. Really enjoy the film. Glad to have this in my collection. I'll still keep the DVD. Great to have the Blu-ray. I thought the picture quality was good. I thought the interviews were solid. Only thing is, it would have been nice if you could have found Robert Resnikoff and a commentary with Lou Diamond Phillips. But the interviews are really good. And for what I gather, they seem proud of the film. Plus, I'm really glad they have the trailer. It's a really good trailer. But either way, thanks for watching this long review. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Oh, and of course, I should end it. See you around, buddy boy.